Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's premier horse racing podcast in association with Boyle Sports, Gorham Park Racecourse, EJ Menswear and Shamrock Thoroughbreds.
As they race up the hill towards the finish, Hart the Herald here on Perry Pass has absolutely bolted up under Paul Townend. On Perry Pass won by wide margin. On the final 150 yards, it's Irish point for Marie National, who's coming with every stride. They're going to the line. Irish point, Marie National on the near side.
If you haven't already, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, as it helps to get horse racing content out there to the wider audience. We look forward to reading all your hashtag 5cast selections in the comments section below. Enjoy the show.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest Champ.ie podcast, day 2, as we preview Aintree, and going to be a cracking day 2 action on Friday in Liverpool, and the sun is going to be shining, and there's going to be plenty of fashion and offer as well. Big thank you, as always, to our sponsors, Gorham Park. Looking forward to their big weekend down and the bank holiday weekend in June. And of course, we've got EJ Menswear. They have you covered. $2.99 for your tailored bundle for the remainder of this year's festivals. And of course, big congratulations to Stephen Thorne and Shamrock Thoroughbreds winning the Winter Championship at Dundalk. And to Boyle Sports this weekend, 6 places on offer on the Grand National on Saturday. Boyle extra card holders, you'll get money back 2nd, 3rd and 4th on selected races through the course of the Aintree Festival. And as always, plenty of extra place value to be had as well. Barry Doyle, 7 cracking races on day 2 to look forward to. Handstands, clear favourite for the opening race on day 2.
Yeah, 7-4 favourites for the Mile Away Novices Chase, and Grade 1 contest here. I don't think there's a Gold Cup winner, Dave, in the lineup this year. Another way you're thinking, of course, won the race last season for Gavin Cromwell, having been successful in handicap company at the Cheltenham Festival. So made the step up in class last season. Of course, went on to win the Gold Cup, as we know. So I don't think there's anything lurking of that quality in the field for the 145 at Aintree on day 2. You know, you might not actually need to run to a mark of 160 to actually win this race. And we have, looking at the lineup, Dave, at the moment, so we've 8 left in. So, you know, for each way backers, I'm willing to take a bit of a swing in this race with Jordan's, who's not the outsider, but he's 16-1 in the market. I just think he's very much overpriced at that, Jordan's. I mean, he's been campaigned with the spring festivals in mind. He ran an absolute cracker to finish 5th at Cheltenham, of course, in the plate. And looking at his overall form, I mean, you know, Monbeg Park, he beat him a half a length. He's got up plenty, won a listed handicap at Leopardstown. And he was 2nd, of course, only beaten 4 lengths by Empire Pass in a Grade 1 on ground probably too soft for him at Limerick over the Christmas period. So his overall form to me reads well. Looking at the plate form as well, you must remember he was only a novice in the plate over 2.5 miles. I just think stepping up and trip could actually help his jumping. He'll be ridden to run well. He likes to come from off the pace, and he always seems to do. Look, I know he's to prove stamina over 3 miles and beyond, but he always seems to do his best work at the finish. Looking at the top of the market, look, handstands for me. Definitely looking at I suppose how the form has worked out with Django Bay, the rightful favourite 7-4. Caldwell Potter, I know he won on good to soft ground at Cheltenham, but this is a step up in grade, a step up in trip as well. I just wonder, is he going to be long-term more effective on softer ground? In Dancing City, he was a big disappointment at Cheltenham. You mentioned Stellar Story. Ran with real credit to finish 2nd to Lecky Watson. He could be a bit of a danger here at 11-2. Danny Gilligan on board, because I don't think the race was run to suit at Cheltenham. Turned into a little bit of a dash from 3 out. And, you know, that wouldn't have suited Stellar Story. So if we get a good end-to-end gallop here, I think he could be in the mix. But for me, Jordan's at 16-1. He's way overpriced, Dave. And, you know, for each way backers, you're getting 3 places at the moment with 8 runners on this nice ground. Joseph O'Brien, his only runner, Dave, on Friday's card. And he does well at Aintree, as we know. So Jordan's for me, first time beyond 3 miles. I think he'll be very competitive here.
Yes, I think it's a race that maybe it's best to keep it simple. I'm going to play my nap hand here. I believe Handstands has been given adequate time between that race in February to Aintree, and I think you know, the form has worked out really well. And when you look at the form of Stellar Story, yes, good 2nd to Lecky Watson. I would still say that Handstand's form would shine out more than that heading into this particular contest. So I'm going to go with Handstands as a confident nap on day 2.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
We look ahead then, Barry, to the 220. It's race 2 on Friday. It's a 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. It is a Class 1 contest. Now, you can certainly make a case for plenty in here. What have you coming down on?
Front end of the market, look, Copic to me, Be Aware and Impulse Trois were all, I suppose, well fancied at Cheltenham to deliver. Impulse Trois, of course, was second in the Coral Cup. That ran an absolute cracker, but it's a big weight to carry here, Dave. I'm happy enough once again to take on the front end of the market. I think we could get some big price winners on day 2 of Aintree, and I'm going to have a go on Tin Tin Tin. Here for, of course, Fergal O'Brien stable, who like to target Aintree, the Spring Festival at Aintree every single season. He's 16-1. And this Tin 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 has been ultra consistent. He's ran really well. I was an eye catcher, Dave, in some big field competitive handicaps. Was 4th in the Great, but of course, only beaten 7 lengths on decent ground by Burdett Road. I thought that reads good form and was a real eye catcher last time as well. Tin 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 at Sandown in a competitive handicap and absolutely was eating up the ground in the last 2 furlongs. So does his best work at the finish. I just think this horse is crying out for a step up to 2.5 miles. Fergal O'Brien and Johnny Burke at the moment, 45% strike rate when they team up in the last 21 days. I think he's had 9 winners for Fergal, Johnny Burke in the last 3-week period. So stable, couldn't be in any better form. The ground, as I said, is going to suit. He's unexposed moving up to 2.5 miles. And just looking at some of the key stats here, 8 of the last 11 winners of this handicap at Aintree have carried 11 stone 2 or less. So he's a nice racing weight as well. Of course, Tin 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 with just 10 stone 8 on his back, 125. He could move past that, moving up in trip. So he could be still well treated. 16-1. There's been good support for him, Dave, with Boyle Sports from 25-1. And I still think there's juice in the price. Of those at the front end of the market, I do respect Wade Out. I think he's been campaigned gently in novice company, and this is obviously a step up in grade and into handicap company as well. But he's gathered a nice bit of experience, in novice hurdles, low-key novice hurdles to the course of the winter campaign and on nicer ground. Ollie Murphy likes a winner at Aintree as well. He's 13-2. He would be, for me, the biggest danger Weighed Out for connections there. They always like a winner at Aintree as well. And look, Tin Tin Tin, I'm intrigued stepping up and trip to 2.5 miles. Johnny Burke in form. For Fergal O'Brien, that's going to be the selection, 16-1 each way. So we're going to continue on the trend. Big price winners, Dave, hopefully on day 2 of Aintree.
We move on to the Grade 1, first of the Grade 1s on day 2, which of course is the Novices Hurdle Contest. This again has got the 10 lining up here, and Romeo Coolio, who ran such a brilliant race in the Supreme for Gordon Elliott, Sam Ewing on board, Barry, is currently our 6-5 favourite for this Grade 1.
Yeah, I just looked at Romeo Coolio and I looked at 6-5 and I just said, not for me. So once again, Dave, I'm taking on the favourite here. I do think stable form, it has to be a worry. Like, one winner from 32, Gordon at the moment, 3% strike rate. I'm just happy to take him on. Sam Ewing, obviously, will be delighted to get the opportunity on Romeo Coolio. And he did run a cracker, as you mentioned, in the Supreme. Tripoli Flyer, this one obviously saved for the race, but he's plenty short. Is he a 3-1 even against the likes of Romeo Coolio and Salvador Mundi? Salvador Mundi was off the bridle at the top of the hill. I didn't think he really ran his race at Cheltenham. Nicer ground could suit him. He good form, of course, on nicer ground at Tipperary earlier on, very early in the season. He's 130. Paul Townend on board. But Diva Luna, to me, the best form, I think long-term, the best form coming into this race might actually be the Mayor's Novice Hurdle. 6.5. To finish only beaten a couple of lengths by 6.5 and Irvin Titlement at of course Cheltenham last time. Diva Luna won the bumper at Aintree last season. She has the course form. She's raced on good ground, but she's out of a presenting mare. I don't think it's going to be an issue. You mentioned Ben Pauling, the stable form at the moment. Ben Jones on board. I thought she shaped with plenty of promise and was probably beaten for stamina. I thought at Cheltenham. This is a track that might suit her better. She jumps well. She's going to be getting the £7. Even getting the £7, she needs to improve. But I think she can. Diva Luna, look, 11-1 at the moment, Dave. Again, it's double figures. I think looking at you have 10 runners here, 3 places for each way bets. I think she'll run a cracker. She'll be on the front end, Diva Luna. And as I said, Romeo Coolio, Tripoli Flyer and Salvador Mundi, I'm happy to take on the 3 of those at the top of the market. I don't know if there's a superstar in there.
Right, what about the Melling Chase? It's a grade 1. We don't have a big field here. We've a 4-7 favourite though in John Bon. El Fabiolo is second in the betting at 4-1. Protectorat is 11-2 with Boyle Sports. And Matata, Nigel Twiston Davies and JJ Stephen on board for Simon Muneer and Isaac Swade, priced at 22-1. Will John Bon bounce back, Barry, here at Aintree?
I think he will, Dave. Look, 4-7, you're going to be getting lent in the odds as well with Boyle Sports, 6 or more lengths. Will be a decent price, I'd imagine, as well, about John Bon. And look, stepping up and trip again. I think that'll be a positive for John Bon. He made a mistake, of course, in the championship, but ran with real credit to finish second. We know, obviously, El Fabiolo is the big question here, really, is, David, is El Fabiolo going to run to a mark of 170? And I don't think we can be sure of that whatsoever. Is that a false rating? I mean, can you believe it? Like, El Fabiolo is officially rated a pound higher than John Bon. John Bon has been absolutely brilliant this season. He's 4 from 4 on good ground. He's unbeaten away from Cheltenham. And as we mentioned, stepping up and trip is definitely, I think, going to be a positive for him, not just for this race, but I think long-term in the future as well. I think John Bon, we could see him now. He's 9 years of age, stepping out and trip. Could he be a contender for something like a King George next season? JP McManus looking, I suppose, at this race as well. He won with Fakir Duderi on 2 occasions. He's won it with John Bon last season. He's won 3 of the last 4 renewals. There's very little not to like, because even though he was beaten last time, Dave, look at where he was at the bottom of the hill and look at where he finished. I know he was beaten a good 18 lengths, but the mistake he made, I mean, it ended all chances, Cheltenham record, etc. I just thought you could mark up the performance of John Bon at Cheltenham, considering all that went wrong. And this race looks tailor-made for John Bon once again. And as I said, like, look at his overall form as well, John Bon. I mean, what has he won? 9 grade 1s in his career? There's 2 things with John Bon. Resolution is one thing, and obviously he has ability as well. He's really grown up this season, and I think he'll take the world of beating. I'd be surprised if El Fabiolo turned him over, would you?
I'd be very surprised as well. I think keep it very, very simple. He's going to be going into plenty of multiples for day 2, John Bon. And if you can find 1 or 2 around him, well, you'll be collecting, because I do believe he wins as well in that 3:30.
From Dundalk to Longchamp, from the Galway races to the Breeders' Cup, Shamrock Thoroughbreds have taken owners all over the world.
Tiger Bell in front, holds them. Late on the scene is Dawn Charger storming home, but Tiger Bell in front and won.
Coming through the centre, Laugh a Minute with a strong challenge on this Laugh a Minute, who goes on in the closing stages to win by like the Laugh a Minute from Fiscal Roots.
But it's Harry's Bar repelling the late challenge of the stable companion Dream today, and Harry's Bar makes it 6-course win.
Check out shamrockthoroughbreds.com or click the link in the Champ.ie podcast video description to learn more about new racehorse ownership opportunities.
Well, the Topham Handicap Chase is always a brilliant race. There's a massive field of 30, Barry. It'll be one, as you mentioned, we'll be watching maybe more so than ploughing into one. But nonetheless, let's see if we can try and find a bit of value here for punters to have maybe an each-way play on in this race.
Yeah, James de Burley last season, Dave, was collared bait home the double green of a good hand once again. Obviously, Blue Lord and there, the Mount of Paul Town and JJ Slevin on James de Burley this season. But as you said, Dave, I think this is one definitely to watch. I won't be ploughing into anything here. There is one of interest at a bigger price. If you were to force me for a selection, I thought Ginny's Destiny. Obviously, there's a big pot in here. Paul Nichols will be looking to land a big one at Aintree, and he won't be giving up on the trainer's title maybe just yet. But Ginny's Destiny, signs of life, I thought last time in the plate, was a good step forward from what he's shown already this season on good to soft ground at Cheltenham, of course, over the 2.5 miles. Was beaten 14 lengths by Jaguar. I think the front 2 there are quite smart, Jaguar and the company Sergeant. They looked ahead of their marks, and we said Jordan's as well. Fancy him to run a big race in the first race, of course, on the Friday. He was 5th in the plate. Ginny's Destiny was 6 lengths behind him in 7th. So through those form lines, I mean, if you fancy Jordan's to run well, I think, Ginny's Destiny could be tailor-made for the Aintree fences. He's a reasonable weight on his back, reasonably decent weight on his back as well. Harry Cobden on board. Cheek pieces and tongue strap on for the very first time. We haven't seen the best of him. Could this be potentially a plot, Dave? I mean, he's off 148 at the moment. He peaked, I think, in the high 150s and was obviously second to Grey Dawning in the Turners. Not sure how strong that Turners was last season, but nonetheless, as I said, he peaked in the high 150s. So for me, Ginny's Destiny, he could be a good price at 14-1. I think he could run a big race, but as I said, that's the one I would come down on if you were to force me for a selection. But I probably won't be having a strong bet in the race, Dave.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Yes, welcome back to Champ.ie. We have 2 more races to look at for day 2 of the Aintree Festival. And this time we're on to another grade 1. And that is the 440. It's a 3-mile hurdle contest. And as it stands, 16 in the field, Baz.
Yeah, 16 in the field. Caliphate on fall is stepping up and trip and could be suited. 7-2 though. It's a bit short. We've got some big price winners of this in the past. I think Apple Away won it at 14-1. A High Senior also for Lucinda Russell at 25-1 when he won it. So can throw up one. Look, once again, Dave, my nap, by the way, spoiler alert, comes in the last on day 2, but I don't have a massive strong opinion in the penultimate race. Mr. Megan, interesting. Look, we haven't seen him for quite a while. He's the entry form. He looked very classy when he won at Aintree earlier on in the season. He's tongue strap on for the first time. Would that be a worry? I thought Battleborn Lad was good last time when winning. He's on a hat-trick bid and stepping up in grade here, 6-1 for the Walford team. And interesting, Paul Townend on board, Argento Boy as well. But the one maybe at a massive price that I could see outrunning his odds, stepping up and trip. Very interestingly, markedly stepping up and trip. Julius de Picton for the Jamie Snowden team with Gavin Sheen on board. The stable are going well at the moment. This one finished third in listed company behind Regent Stroll and a smart type. I thought Fingal Bridge for the McNeils and Exeter last time. That was over 2 miles, but he steps right up to 3 miles here. He looks crying out for a step up and trip. I think the nicer ground will suit. He's a nice bit of experience as well. Came from France, of course, prior to joining Jamie Snowden. He's 33-1 at the moment. I thought he could outrun his odds, Dave, and that's Julius de Picton. Could be suited by race conditions. Will have to improve the guts of, 10 pounds or more. But I think he can with stepping up and trip, and I think that's the key with this horse. And he looks crying out for it, as I said. So Julius de Picton, 33-1. Another massive price selection into the mix, Dave, on day 2 of Aintree.
And why not? Because you're probably going to have plenty of big price winners on the second day. I'm going to just stick with Nicky Henderson and Nico de Boinville in this one. Caliphate on fall. Plenty to like about the win at Huntington and that good second as well. Just to point out, Caliphate on fall was 3 lengths second behind the New Line on its penultimate start at Newbury, over 2.5 miles. I think the step up and trip is going to bring it out further. And looking down at the rest of those, is there something that will run the New Line to 3 lengths? Possibly not. So despite being 7-2, I think Caliphate on fall is the way to go in the 440.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet. Choose wisely.
Yes, well, we're on to the final race on day 2. Barry, you have your nap selection for day 2 running in the finale.
Yeah, well, I would be absolutely very surprised if this horse doesn't have at least a stone in hand. And the one we're going to side with is Celtic Dino in the last race. You're going to definitely probably need a stone, if not more, to win a race like this. There could be a couple lurking, but I just think this horse will start favourite 13-2. Looks a big price. Dylan Johnson on board. He's had 25 winners, of course, this season. £3 claimer in this race. And looking at Celtic Dino, I mean, he's a real good ground horse. He's been saved for Aintree. He's off 132 here. And when you take into account, he's been running. Well, his last 2 runs have come in graded company, obviously qualifying for this. 3 of his 4 wins in his career have come on decent ground. And, look, when you look at, I suppose, the form from Ascot in November, where he beats Wade Out and Joyous, of course, on decent ground at Ascot in that introductory hurdle over the, 2 miles. Joyous has gone up the guts to £23 since. So I think on that form, he looks really well handicapped. 2 miles, decent ground around Aintree with Dylan Johnson on board, taking off the tree, 13-2. Fill your boots, Dave. I think that's a cracking price. I think this horse could be absolutely chucked in for a master target trainer in Sam Thomas, and he'll be hoping that he can get Dylan Johnson a win in this conditionals jockeys contest to conclude day 2 of Aintree.
I'm going to just throw one more into the mix, Barry, for this one. That's number 6, Washington for Harry Durham. And I think it's significant that Connor Stone Walsh has been booked here, claiming the £3, bringing it back to 10-9. Great winner at Fairyhouse over 2 miles on December 1st, and a good winner as well at Chepstow. Disappointed at Newbury on the 8th of February, but Harry Durham's horses running well, and it mightn't be the worst each-way play in the world, that 20-1 about Washington. Right, well, that is the 7 races looked at on day 2. Barry and I will be back, of course, to look ahead to the big one, the Aintree Grand National Day on Saturday at Aintree. It's going to be a cracker. Barry, I suppose before we finish up, as it stands at the moment at the top of the betting for the Aintree Grand National, ground obviously drying out all the time. What, just at this moment in time, before we finish up on day 2, is standing out in the big one on Saturday for you?
2 words, Manila Cocooner.
Manila Cocooner. Okay, very good. And just one for me, Vanillier, as we say. Well, we wish you the very best of luck with your bets for day 2 at Aintree. Thank you for joining us as always on Champ.ie. A big thank you as always to our sponsors. And we look forward to previewing the Aintree Grand National when we see you next. For Barry and I, bye-bye.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
Yes, so hello, Barry Doyle from the Champ.ie podcast, Ireland's Plenty of Horse Racing podcast. I'm here with my co-host, David Byrnes, and we're here in Sligo Town, David, in EJ Menswear, and EJMenswear.com. Fantastic season ahead. EJ has kindly partnered up with us to be the men's fashion partner with Champ.ie for the season. And David, we're suited and booted. You're looking sharp.
Yeah, well, thanks very much. And this fantastic bundle and this outfit we're wearing is costing $2.99. It sets you up beautifully for the racing season ahead, which includes Leopardstown at Christmas, Tiestes Day at Gorham Park, and of course, if you want to go even bigger, you can get togged out for the Cheltenham and Aintree Festivals later on in the season.
Absolutely, and of course, check out the Champ.ie podcast right throughout the season, Mondays and Thursdays, and look at the offer, the tailored bundle for the racing season, $2.99, blazer, shirt, chino, socks and shoes. What's not to like, lads? Check out EJMenswear.com to find out